everyone, and welcome to 19 o'clock news. I am your host, That Kodocha Girl, and with me I have my other host, Mahou Shoujo M,
Hello.
and we have a very special guest today, RJ from the On The Rise channel.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
We're so pleased to have you.
Yeah,
It's very
thank
fun that you're part of this little fandom that we have.
thank you. I'm also very excited to be here because I rarely, if ever, get to talk about Kodocha, and it's literally my favorite romance anime ever. So, I'm happy I can finally talk about it online. So,
Yes, I was so excited because you had posted an article that you had written on Twitter a while back, just a couple months ago, and
mhm.
it was like your top 10 shoujozi titles, I think it was. And
Yo, yeah.
I read it, I was like, oh my God, Kadocha's number one. I was not expecting that, honestly. I was expecting Kadocha to maybe be in top five, but when I saw it was number one, like I freaked the flip out.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's the top 10 shoujo romances, and yeah, Kodocha is number one. I had a lot of people asking me, what is Kodocha? And I said, oh, good question. Sit down.
Yep.
But yeah, so fell in love with Kodocha at a young age. It was actually not one of the first anime I watched, but it was one of the when I started watching anime, it was one of the first ones I binged. Because I used to watch like the Funimation channel and stuff like that, and they used to have like
Hey.
these like weird advertisements for Kodocha, and I was like, "What is this weird, goofy show?" And then I actually watched it, and I was like, "Oh, the trailer did not do it justice." I was like, "This is
Ever.
amazing. More people should watch this."
Oh, I love that. I also found Kodocha through the Funimation channel. May she rest in
Mhm.
peace. This would have been like 2006, like
Yeah,
2005, 7, something like that. It was a million and 5 years ago. So it's always funny to me when I meet somebody who also ran into it from that channel because it was only like available via cable for couple of years. It was a very
hmm
quick blip on the radar.
yeah.
Um,
It was this through the Funimation channel, and like I used to buy like anime DVDs and stuff.
mhm.
Like my favorite anime is Dragon Balls. Like I would like put in the episodes and then trailers of other anime with the play, and I'm like, oh, I need to check out those, and the Kodocha would be one of them that would constantly show up. So I was like, all right, me and my sister were like, all right, let's check out Kodocha, and then we fell in love. We were just like, oh, this is the great one of the greatest things ever.
That's
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
interesting that it
Yeah,
was
I
on
had
Dragon Ball.
yeah, that is
mhm.
news to me because I've never seen a trailer for Kodocha on any other Funimation DVDs before.
Really?
Yeah, so that's I didn't know that that was where I should have been looking this whole time, apparently.
Yeah,
Dragon Ball.
it's kind of weird because like saying it now, a lot of people just like they don't correlate at all. But like I guess back then, like Funimation had so like they didn't have that many titles to advertise. Um,
Mm.
so they would just like introduce as many as they could to whoever would watch them, right? And that's why a lot of people like back if you talked in like the Funimation era when they were still around, like you said, God rest her
Rip.
soul. But um, right back when they were still around, a lot of people would be like, oh, let's check it out. Let's they would tell you about a whole bunch of different titles. Like I couldn't tell you, if you tell me a title about Funimation channel, I'll probably like, oh yeah, I have seen that, a repressed memory in a sense, I guess.
That okay, like a little bit of a offline kind of thing.
Mhm.
But I'm like, do you still have those DVDs? Could you rip that trailer for us? Can we put it in the Kadoja archive? Like, that's of course where my mind goes. Like, I want to
Yeah,
see it.
I can definitely try to find it for you. Yeah, I'm looking at the
Really?
DVDs right now. I mean, there's a lot of DVDs, but I would try my best to find it for you.
I'll have to check ours too because my husband has a few Dragon Ball DVDs, so I'll have to go through and see if we have that
Yeah.
too.
Just out of curiosity, because this might surprise you guys, because my moniker is Mahou Shoujo M, but I don't have any Dragon Ball DVDs in my possession. I got a genre,
What?
and it's not that one.
What? No, Dragon. What?
You know,
Not on purpose. It just sort of it bypassed me, I think, a little bit. I didn't have access when it was big in the 90s, and
Mhm.
also on the playground the boys were very clear to make sure that I knew that that was not for me. So,
Yeah.
just kind
Yeah,
of
I
missed it.
remember those days. I actually started watching Dragon Ball Z with my husband because I had gotten I had bought DVDs. Like I got the first four seasons of Dragon Ball Z for like $24.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, it was
that's
like a
a
steal.
that's a
And I'm
steal
like,
and a half. Yeah.
right? Yeah, I got it for my husband for Christmas this year, and so we've been watching it, and it's interesting. I don't know what I was expecting when we started watching it, but this wasn't it, and I mean that in a good way. Like
hmm
I'm actually enjoying it, but I will say I don't know if I could watch that show on my own because it's definitely not my favorite kind of anime,
yeah.
but it's really enjoyable watching it with someone else. I will say that.
Yeah, that's a first for me. Everyone who's like started Dragon Ball now, it's just like they typically don't watch like action type of anime or something like not really
Mm.
action, but like just straight up punching and kicking like Dragon Ball, right? Simple punching and kicking like Dragon Ball. But they don't really watch that type of stuff. They'd be like, I don't get it. I don't really get it. I can't blame them really, you know. um,
Yeah.
I mean,
it
we
it it
gotta acknowledge though, like, because Dragon Ball is such a like, even having never maybe seen a full episode, I can identify
mhm,
all the characters. Like, I
yeah.
know the vague premise.
hmm
It has had such a stronghold in anime, and specifically in anime that's made it big in the West for 30 years. And I don't know, like, it's got an important place in history.
Yeah.
Even people like me, I'm like, yeah, okay. Like I know even if it's not for me necessarily, like that is important, she
Yeah.
says, gesturing vaguely. You guys can't see me.
I mean, yeah, I'm not really like it's my favorite show, but I'm not tied to like singing its praises. I don't think it's the best written thing I've ever like it's my personal favorite, I would say. But I'm
Mm.
not gonna sit up there and be like, we're making a top 10 anime list. Hey guys, what about Dragon Ball? No, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna be that guy. No.
You could be that guy.
I
It's
could be that
okay.
guy. I really would, and I'd be spouting a bunch of nonsense, but I'd be that guy, ignoring all the criticisms, be like, but listen.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm stat. I'm listening. What?
So I'd like to ask a question. So, you've been doing YouTube for a while, so I wanted to ask, what inspired you to create a channel where you discuss anime and manga? Like, how did that come about?
Oh boy. So it's actually a lot simpler than a lot of people's stories that are here. But one day I was watching I forget what it was, and then I went online to YouTube and I was like I typed in the show, just to watch like YouTube clips of the like to rewatch it, and I saw like a video essay. I think it might have been Geekik. I saw a video essay of Geekix, and I clicked it and I was like, oh, that was fun. And then, I scrolled down and, there goes Mother's Basement, Super Eye Patch Wolf, Hockey Dearest, all of them really. And I was like, oh, let me just keep scrolling to this. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I can do that. Um, so I did. I was in college at the time. I went to the computer lab. I created the YouTube channel and I started writing the first script. And then that's kind of how On The Rise was born. I mean, the name and the branding and all that stuff came from a team member of mine. But yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so that's kind of how we got started. And then from then I kind of started to like make it my own, started thinking of a style. I was like, I'm kind of tired of talking behind a camera or something like that. I want to go outside, grab my camera. And I guess I should say, I was in film school at the time. So I
Mm.
needed something to use my degree for. I was like, I have a film degree, and everyone was like, that's great. So I was like, I need something to use the film degree for. So
And I
We
will
were
say
commenting.
it definitely shows because we were talking how the editing of the videos is just like god tier quality.
thank
Yeah,
you.
truly very, very good. And also I can totally relate to having I have a theater degree. So
We're right there with
um
each other.
I was gonna say oftentimes in the same building.
Yeah.
college campuses around these United States. So totally understand that and the itch to create and use what you learned in school. But yeah, no, your editing really is it's very unique, especially for I say like the genre of channel you have.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it really. Yeah, I just wanted something to use, my degree for and my talents for, and I love anime. Like, anime's been my passion since I was 4. I'm 26 now, so it's like years on years and years I've been an anime fan. So I was like, if I'm gonna make a channel about one thing I can talk about for years, it's gonna be anime. So here we are.
And
Yeah,
you
that's awesome.
consume a great deal of it. Just like I'm very impressed just by how much you managed to watch in a given
Same.
year. Because I'm
Yeah,
not
I
even
watched
sure I've
like
seen 100 series total, like
I
let
watched
alone
like
like a
two
hundred in a year. Like
I watch like 2 shows a year. I'm
me,
Yeah,
yeah.
some people say it's impressive. Some people call it an addiction. Whichever one you want to choose, really. I just like
hey,
to,
if it's what you like, it's what you like, and there's no shame in that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just love anime. The key to consuming as much anime as I do is you take out the kind of I started it, so I must finish it. Yeah, that's not a thing I do anymore. I finish it if I want to finish it, really. Um,
Hmm.
so if it hooks me, it hooks me, which most shows I do watch do. But if it doesn't, if for some reason I just don't feel like finishing it, I just don't finish it, really.
That is a very healthy approach because life is too short to
It
make yourself watch something for the sake of being able to say that you finished it.
Yeah, definitely. I I I always say I was like, there's too many anime out there. Like there like too many shows are coming out for me to stick on this one show that I don't like. So, you know.
Yeah. Oh, totally fair. I'm like, that's another thing too. For many of us, like this is what we do. This is our downtime, right? Like this is what we do as a hobby. We don't need to spend our precious free time like hating something that we're watching just because we feel like we have to. That's not how hobbies work. Stop
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was just going to briefly introduce our topic for today's podcast is that we are doing kind of a Valentine's themed episode, and we're going to talk about, you guessed it, our faves, Sana and Akito. So I was just curious for my own edification, RJ, like why that was the relationship that you wanted to discuss.
Because I'm a very basic man. And so so when it comes to media in general, as anime TV shows, I guess anime TV shows, documentaries, et cetera, I typically vibe with I guess 90% of the time I vibe with the main character a lot. They
Mm,
tend to be my favorite. I'm a main character type of guy. So
mm,
no matter what I watch, I kind of latch on to the main character in a way. So
mm.
Sana is my favorite of Kodocha. I mean, it's because she's Sana, but
Same here. Yes, she's my girl.
yeah, I guess because she's Sana. And I just like the way the development of their relationship in a sense. I will say I have not seen season 3 yet of Kodocha. The episodes they released on Blu-ray. Um,
Mm.
Ari, I think I actually hit you up to see where I could actually buy them. And I
Oh
did.
yeah.
I did buy them. But I haven't actually watched them yet. Like I'm looking at the DVD right now again. But so I am speaking off, I think the first 52 episodes were the first 2 seasons.
51. Yeah,
50,
51 I
51.
51.
think it
Yep.
is.
Yeah, so somewhere
Hmm.
around there, yeah. I think you're right. I think it's 51, yeah. Yeah. But the development of their relationship is always one of my favorite romances in general, and just how the author of Kodocha characterizes them, really.
Mm.
Um, I absolutely love. So I get a chance to gush about Kodocha. I'm gonna gush about my faves. So that's kind of why.
I was just gonna say, I always felt like their relationship, like it unfolds very organically to me. Like it
Mhm.
Mm.
feels very realistic to life. And I think that's why I love it so much is because I don't know, like there's some romances I read and it just feels like it's forced sometimes. And I feel like with them, like it feels very natural and it like you can get behind it 100%, 100,000% basically.
Yeah.
Like I felt like it was just a very, very good build up with them throughout the anime and the manga especially.
Mm-hmm. I also love them because it's more of, I would say, what makes them stand out from other anime romances that I see a lot of the time is that some of the time, not most of the time, I would say if you're not reading like a popular one, the kind of lesser known ones, they kind of just focus on the romance itself, and which is nice. It's cute, it's nice. But I really like the fact that Sana and Akito's relationship, they kind of focus on other things about their lives going on constantly that and not only impacts the relationship but impacts them as individuals, that it just keeps reoccurring and it all ties back to the relationship and they're kind of bonding through helping each other through their stuff instead of I guess your typical oh, it's time for the school festival, and oh, we somehow ended up as Romeo and Juliet in the play. Who saw that coming? um, things like that. And I don't want to say most romances do that because I don't think most romances do the typical thing I'm talking about at all. But I think Kodocha stands out in that way that it is a lot of kind of hard to deal with stuff that these children are actually going through. And I think them bonding through that, and it's not really trauma bonding, but it's more like working through trauma and bonding, I would say.
Ooh,
oh,
love that.
absolutely. As I'm gonna bring up because we were talking about
Yeah.
I'm a psych major. So as a psych major, I'm sitting here like clapping, like
Okay.
yes, yes, exactly. That is it. That is exactly why this series I feel like stands apart from all the other shows out
and
there.
I feel I definitely, that's kind of why I love them, because it's I don't see that a lot in anime nowadays. It's more so of like I'm not trying to validate any current romance anime because I do enjoy them today. I just feel like Kodocha hits harder because it talks about a lot of tougher subjects, really.
Hmm. And actually, jumping off of that, and I think it's a good. I'm yes, good. Okay. So,
Okay.
trying to like I'm okay, how do I segue into this? Because I think I agree with you very, very
Mhm.
much. And something that I would add is that something that I love about Kodocha and about Sana and Akito's relationship specifically is I do feel like in a lot of romance series, you sort of have like the girl like emotionally saves the guy emotionally saves
Mm.
the girl. It's one or
Mhm.
the other. And that what I love about Sana and Akito is that they are a true partnership.
Yeah.
They kind of saved each other in
Mhm.
in a way. And so it's not like I think a lot of people, if you're not looking deeply into the full story, would think that like, oh, Sana like rescued Akito. But it is
Mhm.
very much I don't know, they support each other. And I think that's the way that the story is told. It's cool and it's kind of rare, I think, in a
Yeah.
lot of romance series to see, especially kids so young, be there for each other in that way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Definitely.
So, is it time for us to get into our top three fave moments?
Yeah.
I'm
So
ready. Let's do it.
now
All
we have
right.
to decide who's gonna go first.
Yep. Do we want to start with, should we all like go around the circle, do number three, then number two, then number one?
I
What do you
can,
think?
yeah, I can start. If you want me to start,
Oh, okay. You're so
Sure.
brave.
I'll,
All right.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take
What's
it.
your number three favorite?
Okay. Let's see. Looking at the three I have listed right here. Um, so my number three favorite, and I was thinking about this last night, and I kind of wrote down a bunch of them. I was like, I can't just pick three, but my number three favorite is the moment in the anime. It's after Sana's mom releases the book, letting everyone know that Sana is adopted, and she stays over at Akito's house, and like that scene where they wake up in the morning and they're kind of sleeping in the same room. One of the cutest scenes in the world. Um,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's kind of one of my favorite moments. Literally, took me and my sister out of my seat, out of our seats when we watched it. Yeah. That moment.
Mm. That's a good one. It's so
Oh
well
yeah, that
adapted in the anime too, but like
I
that manga
know,
panel
right?
lives in my mind rent free. Like I
Same,
just love it.
same. I do also love like how there's so much tension in those. I think it's like a 2 episode thing. And
Hmm.
it's like you have no idea like where it's gonna go from there. And I love that. And it's just oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel like that's one of like the first, not the first times, but like one of the first times the audience gets to just see them just bond, like because like they go out shopping, they eat, you know, it's like a one big sleepover, right? And it's just relaxing with these two characters that are just bonding really. So
Hmm.
I
I
really
love
enjoy
it.
that.
Also just a great episode all around. I
Ah,
love
yes.
everything from like them looking at Akito's singular baby picture to making ramen. Yeah, it's just it's so good. It's a great
Um,
episode.
and can't forget about the line when he comes in and they're talking about Sauna's moles and
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, oh
he's like
yeah.
you got 3 moles on your butt and then like it's just like chaos ensues.
Yeah. You'll never guess where my moles are. Is it on your butt?
Incredible. An iconic moment.
My number 3. So it's funny, I was actually working on for my February video was actually my top 5 sauna and Akito moments. So
Hmm.
I already had like a whole like thing ready for a while. So my number 3 moment would have to be the moment when uh Fuyuki, Akito's dad, goes to the hospital and
Hmm.
Akito calls Sana on the phone and he's like,
Mm.
my dad might be dying. And she comes and they have this intimate moment together after Akito walks away from his sister and he's just kind of sulking and he's really upset. And it's the first time that we really see Akito like really vulnerable with Sana. And that's why I love this moment so much, is because like it felt like he's finally kind of, he's always been a very stoic character, but I feel like this is the first time we really see all the walls coming down and we can kind of see that bond between the two that was established very early on with the whole, pretending to be his mom in the first couple episodes of Kodocha. And I also like how this moment has kind of they reflect on how old they are, because the whole time we're so focused on them, right? And it's like we were talking about earlier, like the characters are so young in this series, and they deal with a lot of very traumatic situations for their age, and it kind of hits you in this moment like how old they actually are, because Sana takes a moment and reflects on how where would we be without the adults in our lives, and we're just kids going through this. And I kind of liked how that moment was not only romantic but it also plays into that whole like they're going through these traumatic things together and they're going through it and helping each other through it.
Right.
Hmm.
It is a good
Yeah,
moment, really.
it is. You guys were both very sincere. I definitely came here initially and I was like, top three Sana and Akito moments. Number one, Christmas Eve kiss. Number two, juice soaked first kiss. And number three, episode 102 kiss. And I was just going to call it a day. But then I decided to like think about it. And I also decided to come here with some manga representation because I had a feeling that that's my role here is
Mhm.
to never shut up about the manga. Um, and so I think for me, my number three moment is probably the confession from volume 7, chapter 31. It's so stupid and it's so them. And I love the way he's like, I need to know the truth. Like, you need to give this to me straight after seeing that interview from Naozumi. And she's like, well, how about you tell me the truth? And he's like, okay. And she's like, now I'm going to tell you the truth. And just like, they're so stupid. I love them so much. They are everything to me.
I love that scene too a lot because of the look that they give each other in it. Like
Ugh.
they look so exhausted. Like, okay, we need to communicate better, and I love that for them because like they're trying so hard, but they can't
They
at
are
this point.
so, yeah, it's just so funny because they're both like it just completely devolves into like and I do and I also I know exactly what you're talking about. If I was going to get a Kodocha panel tattooed on myself, it would probably be that one. I won't, but like I thought about it because I do love that like it just you feel it so deeply how all of the air has been like sucked out of the room like as they're both just sitting there. It's all out there now. Like they've
Mhm.
said it, it's out there. They can't
Mhm.
take it back. Like and where do we go from here? And I do think it's also kind of fun because Sana obviously breaks first and turns to go and he stops her. And then of course Fuka is around the corner and everything is terrible and hurts.
The
Um
drama.
the drama. But yes, that's my number 3 moment because it's intense and silly and somehow still funny and charming. And Obana is a god, and I love her. And the end.
I love it.
See now you guys are making me about to pick up the manga. Uh,
Have you not read it? I'm so
I,
sorry.
I have not read the no. I know how
Oh,
Kodocha
oh
ends.
no.
I spoiled
That's
it for myself years ago. But
Okay. I'm like, am I
okay.
gonna have
That's
to
good.
amend my top 2? Because I
no,
don't want to
no,
hear
no.
any
Same.
spoilers.
I spoiled it
Same.
for myself
Oh,
years ago. You're good. You're good.
okay. Sorry.
No, no. But now you're about to make me pick the manga. No.
I will say that that moment, that episode is adapted really well in the anime.
Okay.
And it's also probably like the last episode that is canon adapted in the anime for season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just about after that, they kind of it becomes its own entity. But that moment is done really well in the anime as well. Got to give them
Mhm.
props for that. All right, number 2 moments.
It's me. Okay.
Yeah.
So my number 2 moment and number 3 moment are kind of tied. Not tied, no, not tied. Tied together, I should say. It's the same arc. It is the scene where all the paparazzi are outside of Sana's house, and Akito comes in on the bike and snatches her, and drives away. And I remember the episode very well because it ends with one of my favorite moments where he takes her back to his house and then they're at the front door and they go in and she's just, she's typical Sana, she's typical excited. Woo, that was a ride. Didn't expect you to show up. And he doesn't really say anything from my memory. And he just lets her keep talking. And then eventually she just starts crying. And I think it is the first time they hugged. And then the ending thing just starts playing. And it was at that moment that I fell in love with Kodocha. Because
Aw.
I was just like, oh my God, that was so good. Next episode. And it will always be one of my favorite moments because for me, it speaks to their connection of how, Akito is a man or boy of a few words, regardless. But the fact that he knew he didn't need to really say anything, and also the fact that she knew that she just felt comfortable just to break down in front of him like she did. I mean, earlier in the story, she already told him that the book was coming out, and everything confined to him regardless. But it was just that moment of where you realize that you've been building up to their connection this entire time, and you actually see the fruits of what you've been watching. Really,
Mhm.
is one of my favorite moments in this series.
Ugh, you're so right. It's so good. And the mentioning of the ending theme there too.
Yeah,
Like, one or not panic. It is panic. Yeah.
yeah,
It is.
Yeah, panic. Okay, yeah, panic slaps so hard as in
yeah.
the way that those episodes transition into the ending theme are
Mm-hmm.
just hit different.
It just hits
It's
Yeah.
different. You're just like, oh my God, no, it's not over. It's not over. Next episode.
oh yeah. Oh man, anytime you hear that the beginning of the that kind of hard piano, I'm like, let's go. It's
Yeah,
just
you know you're gonna be on the edge of your seat.
oh yeah. It's just you love to see it. No, it's a beautiful moment and I just yeah, man a few words indeed, but you don't you know exactly like what's going on with him in that moment
Mm.
too, which is
Also,
I think a
I
testament to
love
the artwork.
oh yeah. Also, I love the fact that the chapter also ends with it too. is that
Mm.
look. That look that Akito gives, like, he's looking at the camera, I guess the quote unquote camera in the anime, and like he just looks so serious and like I don't know, that look is just like perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
He's so serious about taking care of her, and it's so adorable.
Agreed. It's just, it's so good. I love it.
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of holding back tears for my number two.
Babe, no.
Okay.
Like I was rereading it a little bit, and because I wrote a whole thing, I told you guys I was making my
Mhm,
February videos, this which will be out before this podcast drops. So,
mhm.
oh my gosh. Okay, so I apologize. This is a big manga spoiler. Are you okay with me
Go for it.
talking
Go
about
for it.
this? Okay. So my number two Sana and Akito moment is during the final chapters in volume 10 when Sana and Akito run away together. And they had spent the whole day at an amusement park. And this is when Sana is dealing with her doll syndrome, so she's basically unable to emote. She just has like a blank expression, even though she is thinking that she's smiling, she's happy, but there's nothing there. So Akito and Sana go to a hotel, and Akito finally confronts her as like, this is what you've looked like, this is how you've been acting. Um, and the tension, it gets really intense a little bit. So Akito's basically, I wouldn't say he's being aggressive, but he's getting really worked up at this point. And so, the whole context of the situation is Sana's mentally breaking down because Akito's gonna leave to America. Oh my god, I'm tearing up. I'm sorry. So Akito's leaving to America, and she doesn't want him to go. And like the whole time Akito's trying to be so strong for her because, she's having the doll syndrome.
Mhm.
And he's trying to get her to be herself again, and then he just breaks down. And I think it's the only time we ever see him cry in the series. And he breaks
Mhm.
down and he's like, you don't understand. Like, I'm going to be the one that goes to pieces without you. And it's just like that moment is so like, I'm crying right now because it's so
Oh,
good.
baby.
And like finally, like that's when Sana snaps out of it. And it's like, it's just such a beautiful moment because it again, it's like really the first time that we see Akito cry and get so worked up emotionally over Sana. Like it just like it all comes pouring out of him how much Sana means to him. And they've been dealing with all of this stuff together. They went through Sana's mom's book, Akito getting stabbed by Kazuyuki, and it's like all of this comes together, and it's like they've been dealing with their trauma for so long, and now they're going to be separated, and like neither of them know how to deal with that. And I love this moment, how they come together like this, and how Sana was thinking how she I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but she was thinking how, oh, I never thought about how Akito is feeling about all this. I was so distraught by the whole situation that I wasn't there for him. And then they end up she ends up comforting him through the rest of the night in the hotel before they get found by Misako and Ray the next day. But yeah, that's my number two moment. So I'm sorry for
Oh,
crying a little bit there.
no.
No, it
I'm
was sweet. It was
teary-eyed
sweet.
too, baby. Yeah. No, you're so right. It's a really powerful moment, and yeah, I could dig into that one for days. I've thought about it so
Mhm.
much. And yeah, one of the things that I love about that moment specifically is, because Akito really is sort of like, okay, I've been presented with these like really shitty circumstances that involve me like moving to another country. There's already the stuff that he's got going on with his arm, and he's very much like, I can deal with this. I can get through this because I have Sana, and we're going to get through this together. And the fact that she kind of starts to pull back, and doesn't want to talk about it or acknowledge what's going on. And then she starts to kind of spiral inward, and he's like, this was kind of my lifeline and I don't have that anymore. And so
Mhm.
seeing that break for a character that's, relatively stoic, and again, doesn't say as much was very powerful. It's really well done. That whole arc. I remember like the more I read it and get into it, the more I can kind of see what she was trying to do, and she being Obana.
Yes.
And it
Same.
just she's just a master of storytelling, and
Mhm.
I mean, yeah,
it's really good.
most definitely. See, I know what happens, right? So, like I said, I spoiled
Mhm.
it for myself years ago, but hearing it in detail, you guys are just making me want to actually just go and read it.
Yes, you need to, like, as
Do
soon as
it.
possible.
Truly.
uh,
It's so good. That's why we're so obsessed. Because like, don't get me wrong, I love the anime.
Mhm,
And but I'm not going to give my normal speech because we've talked about it a lot, especially as we've recently had episodes where we've talked about like the differences between the anime and the manga.
mhm,
Um, you know, but the manga is just it's such a well done story beginning to end.
Mhm.
mhm.
Whereas the anime has a lot of great moments in it. It doesn't feel as cohesive.
Yeah, it doesn't
Um,
flow as well
and
as
it's
the
and it's
manga.
unfinished, and these are just things that we live with,
Yeah.
25 plus years later, is what it is. But the manga is very much like I don't know, it's whole, and it's really, really well done. So definitely read it. Well, my number two moment is also a little heavy, but not as heavy.
Mhm,
But when sort of thinking about their relationship as a whole, I kept kind of coming back to that moment when Akito's in the hospital and him and Fuka have broken up at this point, and Basana still hasn't gone to see him. She was just like, okay, he's good. Like he'll be okay. And it's their first time kind of seeing each other since she sent him off at the train station
mhm.
a couple of chapters before. And I just she comes into the room and is kind of like hi, and they don't speak, and he just sort of like reaches for her with his one good arm, and she runs to him, and they're just kind of hugging in this hospital bed, and you can really sort of feel that this is the first time like Akito has taken a full breath in like weeks,
Mhm.
in all the weeks that he's been in the hospital, all the weeks that he's been going through this. And she says, like whatever it is, like we're gonna get through this because I'm gonna be there by your side. And oh, now I'm getting emotional, about to start crying. And
I'm already
it's
tearing up listening to
contagious.
you.
Oh
Oh,
no. Um, but and I do think that like that to me that I'd say that there are two kind of important refrains to Kadocha that come up regularly over the course of the series. The first one is, you know, go on living, which is something that Sana says to Akito when she's pretending to be his mom. It's something that
mhm.
Akito's mother says to him in a vision of sorts. You need to go on living. And then the other one I'd say is like, I'll be there by your side, is like kind of the second really important um phrase that comes up a lot in Kodocha. Like, I'll be there for you. I'm gonna be there with you.
Oh
And
my
so I
God.
love that moment for that.
It's such a good story. Like the mess.
Oh
I'm like
no.
I'm like crying more than like I ever have in a long time. I'm so sorry. But it's like
we
the
sh-
messages in this are so like they're so good. Like it's just like everybody needs this in real life. Everybody needs this kind of relationship in real life.
Yeah, that it's like that Dr. Phil meme of him holding the book. Like, you need to edit that with Kadocha in it and just hand it to people.
Oh my God, yes.
Like
That's perfect.
the
We'll
key to
credit you when we
happiness.
make the meme, but yeah, we're gonna make that meme for sure.
The key to
Absolutely.
happiness. Read
Key
Kadocha.
to honest. I mean,
I'm
you're
dead
not wrong.
serious.
So yeah, no, of course. I love it. Oh man. Okay. So what do you got for us for your number one moment? God, I hope it's lighter than what we just said.
It's not.
Excellent.
Yay!
Let's go.
More tears, yes.
So my number one moment, it's kind of fitting how you mentioned the keep on living themes of Kodocha, because my number one moment I think is actually the start of it. And I actually looked up the manga chapter it is to correlate with anime. It's chapter 4. And it's the moment where Sana confronts Akito because his bullying and stuff. And he pulls out a knife and tells her to kill him. That moment took me out in watching the anime because I was like, whoa,
Oh yeah.
what dark. Hold on.
You showed up here for fun and games, and then
Yeah.
Miho Abana handed Akito a knife.
I was like, whoa, what is going on? Is he serious? Like it's looking back, and as many times I've rewatched this anime, and actually just looking at the manga panels right now, looking back, I see how serious he actually was.
Mm.
She, of course, Sana, my girl, she takes the knife and she just stabs him next to him and tells him no, that she just doesn't really know much about him, and she just wants to help in the most Sana way possible. I think it was kind of the start of the vulnerabilities we've been talking about this entire time. It's like, it's not completely vulnerable with each other, but it's a start of a deeper connection that the rest of the people in their class did not have because they're going through this together. Like, he didn't ask anyone else to basically stab him in the gut. And it's also kind of the start of them sort of kind of saving each other in a way, where Sana doesn't do it, of course, and Akito is more, he kind of shows her that this stuff isn't really black and white. Like, there's more gray area to it, like that she shouldn't just run straight first, and even when she is trying to help. And it's kind of like a message they give to each other that, yeah, there are darker themes at play. Like, there are darker themes at play, and you should take this stuff more seriously in a way. And for me, that's my number one moment because, like I said, it stands. This is what I'm talking about when I say Kodocha stands out, because you won't find a lot of romance anime or manga where the main couple is talking about suicide. Like, you won't find it. And kind of using the themes of that in a way where it is, like I said, going past trauma together instead of trauma bonding in a sense. So that's why it's my number one, because it's one of the scenes where it shows you kind of like one of the core themes of Kodocha and what it has really to offer. Like I said, when I was watching it, it first took me out. I was like, whoa, what is this? What is going on? We were just happy. What's going on, guys? And yeah, it's that's why it's one of my number one moments.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I never thought about it like that before. Because you brought up the vulnerabilities and context of that scene, and I actually never put two and two together with that. That's actually very interesting. Like, thank you for sharing that. And you described that scene very well. Like, I think that was most people's reaction to that moment when it's like, whoa, what? This was
Yeah,
supposed to be a cutesy little fun anime. Like, where are we going with this? And again, that's
yeah.
why it's so great, because it throws curveballs all the time, and you never know what to expect in Kodocha. But
It's
yeah, I really liked what you brought up about that scene, how that was. I never thought about it in that context of, that's one of the first times that we see them, being more open with each other. But yeah, that makes total sense.
I think it's a wake up call to just reading it in general. Like I say, it's chapter 4. I think it's like episode 3, where it's like a wake up call of things to come and a much more deeper aspect of the story. That, like, this is why I say, like, the Funimation trailers didn't do it justice, because the Funimation trailers, first of all, no words from my memory. It was more so just like goofy music and all the funny bits of the anime. And I was thinking, I think it was like I thought it was a comedy anime before I actually watched it. And that's why I say it doesn't do it justice, because these moments that are the core theme of the manga, of the story, are left out of that trailer. And coming in, you don't really expect it, which I guess was the intent, but it's not. It's not a good marketing strategy, you ask me. If you showed me this, I think a lot of people would be more inclined to check it out, really.
Oh,
I agree.
you have opened a can of worms for Mahou Shoujo M. I got
Yeah.
opinions on how the show is marketed, even just down to like the advertisements for the manga that
Hmm.
you'll still find in the back of other Tokyo Pop series. Like it's just not an accurate representation of the series at all. And
Yeah.
I was the target demographic for that series when it
Hmm.
was in print.
Hmm.
I was around 11 reading manga, buying manga that Kodocha was being advertised in. And I was like, that does not look good because they kind
Yeah.
of, I did a whole Twitter thread on this like a year and some change ago. I might just retweet it. No
Hmm.
context. Cause I do feel
Go for it.
strongly that like it's tough because it just yeah it shows to me like a fundamental misunderstanding of the material from the people who are marketing it, and I still to this day kind of wonder how many of them actually consumed it, if that makes sense, or if they were
Yeah.
just like kind of given a surface level overview
Yeah.
and forced to kind of, I don't know, just use whatever they had at the time, which I'm guessing probably wasn't much
Mhm.
to advertise it, but they missed it, and I do think that that's what hurt Kodocha sales both for the manga. Well, I don't know how the sales for the manga did, so I probably shouldn't say that, but it was only in print for like 18 months or something. And then for the anime not getting completely dubbed, Discotheque will say every day that it was kind of psychotic that Funimation even attempted something so crazy as trying to dub Kodocha. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Reading the because when Discotech released the Blu-rays, I was like,
Mm.
oh, so are we getting like a dub? And they're like, oh no.
We were all there in that discotheque live
Yeah,
stream when they were like,
yeah,
y'all are crazy. Absolutely not. And I was
yeah.
like, I am delusional, yes, but I did really hope.
Same,
It,
yeah.
it's yeah, because it's, to be honest, Kodocha is the anime where I kind of started paying attention to voice actors in a sense. I had the chance to actually meet Laura Bailey.
Oh
Um
wow.
Our
uh
queen.
and she is everything you wish you think she is and more. But yeah, so it's like where I started paying attention to voice actors and stuff, because I think I watched Kodocha and then we watched Fruits Basket right afterwards.
Mm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Laura Bailey and I forget
Gary
I,
Jewel.
yeah, they both play Kodocha, they both play Asana and Akito, and they both play Kyo and Toru. So it was like we're watching Kodocha again, but although two completely different shows. But yeah, so it was like when I started paying attention to voice actors, so I didn't actually think they went through that much work to dub it, but I mean they did a fantastic job regardless. And I just wish it'd be finished. I wish they'd come back because they're still all voice acting, and I hear them all in a bunch of anime, and I'm like, oh, you're from Kodocha.
I was gonna say, I do love like yeah, that whole Funimation class. We talk about this all the time, the voice actor parallels between Fruits Basket and Kodocha specifically. But then like you'll be
Mm-hmm.
minding your own business and you'll hear John Bergmeyer in something, and or Greg Ayers is in
Even
everything always. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, even during our my watch through of Dragon Ball Z with my husband, like I've been like, hey, that's Ray. Hey, that's
Yeah.
Zenjiro. He does
Yeah.
the guy who does Zenjiro does the voice of Krillin. And then
oh,
there's another familiar
there are
one.
so many.
Uh,
Everybody's
yeah.
there's they are all booked and blessed, and I am so happy for them.
Mm-hmm. It's like, everyone's like, oh, Laura Bailey, she's Maka from Soul Eater. I was like, excuse me, no, she's Sana from Kodocha.
Right.
Let's say, oh, she's Toru from Fruits Basket. I love Fruba, but she's Sana from Kodocha. Like,
Real. Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that you got to meet her and that
yeah.
she's as lovely as I'd hoped she was. I've heard that from other people too, but it's always nice to hear that your faves are actually nice in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my number one, I think anybody who's watched my channel and just like has interacted with me knows that I tend to like the more overly psychological aspects of the series. So my number one might
What?
be so my number one, I think is gonna come as a surprise. Number one has to be Christmas Kiss. I'm sorry.
The
but
OG.
yeah. Um,
Okay.
and you know,
Okay.
there's no big deep psychological stuff going on here. I mean, there could be if you really break it down,
Well, let's wait a
but
minute. We can break this down.
of
I'm
course.
sure you've got something, honey.
Well, let's see. Let me check my notes here. Adjust glasses like an anime character. Um, so my number one moment's Christmas Kiss because it's really the first like romantic kiss between San and Akito because the first one was more I felt like the first kiss was more humorous because you know it was like it's caught off guard. Sana's like screaming at the top of her lungs, and she's like not interested. But this kiss was very romantic and it felt more consensual. And again, I love this scene because it's so well done. It's again, it's so romantic. You know, Akito was struggling to figure out what to get Sana for Christmas, and he just like didn't get her anything. He was like, I can't find anything, you know, like he's like a new bra. um,
Bless him.
so he's building a snowman in the back for her, and then you know he has Suyoshi's voice in his head, like you need to tell her that you love her. But as Akito being Akito and he can't express himself with words very well, he kisses her. And then afterwards, Sana is thinking about, you know, especially in the manga, she's really thinking about all their moments together. And she's like, was that my real first kiss? And again, it's just such a cozy, warm moment that I never get tired of watching or reading.
Well,
Definitely.
yeah. We just did an entire podcast episode on that, so I do feel like I'm gonna
Right.
Mm-hmm.
spare my commentary since I've probably said everything already, but that's an excellent number
Right.
one choice.
So what do you have for number one, M?
I've got it's related and it is Christmas Eve, but not that Christmas Eve.
Ooh.
In the
Okay.
manga, their first date 1 year later, in chapter 42, I believe, volume 9, where they go out on Christmas Eve and have what could have been kind of a disastrous date where they fought because they're them. But then they end up having a couple of really sweet moments. The first being when they're going to look at the Christmas lights, and Akito's talking to Sana about how Fuko was a nice girl. And he feels really bad about what happened, but and then he says what to me is one of the most unintentionally romantic things that this boy has said when he's like, "For me, there's only you." I just
Yes.
just stop it. I love it. He always says the most romantic shit when he is not meaning to, and it's so good.
That's part of yeah, that's part of his charm, I think, is because, you know,
Yeah,
he doesn't really say stuff like that, but when he does, like it makes it even more meaningful. Because if he was saying
absolutely.
stuff like that all the time, it would, you know, kind of not be as exciting.
Probably true. Or I even love like later in the series when Naozumi is like, you gotta like whisper sweet nothings in her ear, and he's like, chocolate. Just it's like, ooh, so close, baby. So close. Just not quite, doesn't quite get it. But yeah, so it's really that whole chapter. But for me, there's only you and then into later when they're looking for her Sana's watch in his room and they end up doing some more smooching, which is sort of like, oh, baby girl's first making out, probably, which warms my
Yeah.
little heart. So yeah, that's mine. So a little fluffier than my last one, but there you go. Oh,
All right.
Hey.
I think
good.
everyone, we all have pretty solid lists.
I'd say so too. And I'm also delighted that there was not like overlap, if that makes sense. Like we all had
Yeah.
Yeah.
different ones. I fully expected that at least two of us would come in with the same for one of them, but we didn't.
I love how we all kind of said when we asked for our top three moments, it's like, oh, just list the kisses. List the kisses. Call it a day.
Smooch one, smooch two, smooch three. Done.
We got it. Done. We did it. No, but we know okay. We're like, actually, no, let's sit down. Let's think about it.
Exactly.
Kisses are goated moments, regardless.
So true, Bestie. I feel like, well, also too, there are so many romance animes that are like, this is going to be like 54 episodes. They will never hold hands. they're never even gonna use each other's first names. And it's like, okay. So I do appreciate that Kodocha is just like, and here are three perfectly good kisses, relatively evenly spaced out over the course of 102 episodes. You're welcome.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Perfection.
Yeah, it's more it's like it's a whole arc to get them to use each other's first names in a lot of romance anime.
So true.
And
Although
you're just
that is
like,
something about Kodocha that makes me nuts is that she calls him Hayama through 102 episodes and 10 volumes in like 3 years. I'm like, girl, it makes me very upset. And I'm writing fan fiction to fix it.
pretty fan fiction to fill the void, really.
Pretty much, yeah. That's what we're doing.
Plug your
It's like
fan fiction. Plug your. It's been a while. Plug your fan fiction.
I think I plugged my fan fiction last episode.
Did you? I...
Probably. I write fan fiction for Kodocha. Go read it.
Okay. Okay. All right.
There it is.
You gotta
Link to
send me the
my.
link now. You gotta send me the link now.
Oh, I don't know about all that.
No, 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 no pressure. I'm just gonna be reading it and judging you at every corner, but no pressure.
Excellent. Thank you. Oh God. No, I do some Kodocha fan fiction. I've got a broader Kodocha expanded universe in progress right now, which sort of takes place directly following the events of volume 10. It's manga canon compliant, and I promise that something will get published for it at some point. I've been working on it kind of off and on for 6 months ish. So there's that. There it is. I plugged my fan fiction. I do think Ari is maybe my biggest fan and cheerleader. So
Okay.
take everything she says with a grain of
Absolutely.
salt.
All right.
But
Well,
I do appreciate it nonetheless.
I would love to read it. I would love to read
Well,
it.
I appreciate that. One of my big project I did over the last like year was I did the last I did volume 7 through 10 of Kodocha from Akito's perspective.
Oh, okay.
Just because it's Sana's show.
Mm-hmm.
But I originally started doing it just as a writing exercise, just to kind of get to know the character better. I was like, okay, let's like think about what these events would have looked like from his perspective. And then like 80,000 words later, I was like, oh no, I wrote a book.
I love
So
that. I love that.
oops. These things do happen. So yeah, so that's the big Kodocha thing that I've done that I worked on. But no, I was gonna ask if anybody had any honorable mentions for their top threes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, mm.
Let's sit on this. Let's think about it.
That's totally fair. I've
Someone
got
cue the
mine.
Jeopardy music.
Exactly. Because I think mine was probably, I'm like, I have my manga scans folder open right now. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, your list
And
is very manga centric.
I did it on purpose because I had a feeling that it was going to be a little bit, I just had a vibe. I caught a vibe, thought it was going to be more anime centric, which is fine.
Mhm.
I also, there are things I like about the anime, but you know me, I'm a manga girly first. So,
Oh yeah, I mean I am
um,
too. I definitely prefer the manga. I will say I do like how the comedy is done in the anime better, obviously, because they
hmm.
played it up more. But yeah, I mean the juicy stuff for sure. If you want all that manga, 100% go read that.
So I think for mine is probably, and this is vaguely adapted in the anime, but it's from chapter 33, volume 7, when Akito is doing his running everywhere, um, depression runs, in the evenings, and Sana finds him and hugs him and is like, "What are you doing?" That's probably was another honorable mention for me because
That's a good one.
it's a good one.
I do like the scene. It's a manga only scene. I'm actually gonna grab it here just to reference it, but it's in volume 4 and it's after the Christmas kiss. Um, and this is when Sana gets that job for Mansion of Water, the movie. And her and Akito are like just kind of chit-chatting, and Sana asks him if, he still feels like he wants to die, and he just shakes his head, and then it's just like a happy little moment, like, oh, like he's starting to really, come into his own and enjoy life and just be a happier person. And I love that for him in that moment.
Mm.
It's a really good one. actively choosing to go on living.
Mhm.
I guess another mention for me would be kind of the moment where I won't live rent free in my head is when she like plays his mother. Um,
Mm, yes.
and she has him like lay down on her lap and she plays his mother from the movie she just starred in. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the lines. I just love that moment. It's just a sweet moment, really.
Mm,
Mhm.
you're so right. That's we also did a whole episode on basically that moment because
Hmm.
it's just you could talk about it for days. It's so beautiful and impactful, and it comes up as a memory for Akito so frequently over the course of the series as well. It's like a touchstone, something that they come back to
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah, I
It's
was thinking it's kind of the glue that kind of keeps it all together sometimes
mm,
when things are
hmm
falling apart.
Yeah, most definitely.
mm.
It's one of my favorites. It's just such a sweet moment. I can hear what's the name of the song? Is it When You're Crying? Yeah.
Always be with you.
Yeah, I'll always be with you. Yeah, I could just hear it in my
Yeah.
head. Love that song. Yeah, it's one of my favorite moments.
All rise for our national anthem. Um, it's a great moment. Yeah, that's a good honorable mention. It's hard to pick. This show is perfect?
I
Question
mean,
mark. No notes.
yeah, 100%. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't I don't see anything no improvement, you know. You 100% you passed.
It's fair. Yeah,
Congratulations. Here's your
did
reward.
it. Exactly. Well, anything else that you want to add, or
Mhm.
I'm gonna take that crushing silence as a
No.
we might be getting
No,
ready to wrap things up.
I think I'm still like emotionally recovering from this episode, honestly.
I know we did not come here to be sad crybabies, but here we are.
But that's how you know it's good.
It's
Like
so true.
Yes.
that's
You're
how you
so
know it's
right.
good. This is why I love fiction, anime, manga, and particularly because it invokes those emotions out of you, and you're just like, I'm crying over these characters, but it means something. It means something, and I love that.
There's also something I think really special about Kodocha, and then we say this all the time, but it really does just have such an amazing ability to make you laugh and make you cry at the same time. That's, I think, a rare balance, but they've really done a great job with that.
Yeah.
You really get to experience the full spectrum of human emotion when you're watching or reading Kodocha. So I
Hmm.
just love it. Oh, so delightful. I'm so glad that you came and joined us. This was super fun.
I am.
Mhm.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. In
Of
conclusion,
Course.
Kodocha's a masterpiece. So,
Yes, TLDR.
Mhm.
Like
but
semicolon.
yeah, thanks for having me. You know, like I said it before. You know, I'm grateful for the opportunity to gush about Kodocha, and you guys have given me that. So you know, thanks for having me on.
Of
Yeah, of
course.
course. And keep up
Yeah,
the
you
amazing work on your channel. Like I love it. I wanted to point out one video that I really enjoyed was your demographics versus genre video because it was very
mm,
informative to me, especially as someone who's kind of coming back into the anime manga fandom, because
Hmm.
I always thought that demographics and genre were the same. So it was very helpful to me to understand the difference between that. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank
absolutely.
you.
I'll
Thank you
I'll
for
echo that
watching.
too. That's an important clarification to make. And I think all of us are guilty of sometimes using them interchangeably. So it's good to
Yeah.
have the reminder.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I myself can think of several times where I'm just like, oh yeah, I say they're the same thing, and then I did my research with the video, and I was like, actually, you know, hold on. But yeah, it was a fun video to make. I got to record it in a library, and the people were so nice. The kids were sitting around watching me record.
Oh, nice.
And the mom's just like, shh, you gotta be quiet. He pressed record. So shh, it was just cute.
Oh, that's really wholesome. I love that. It's been fun having you on too. And even, without really realizing it, you helped us mention Fruits Basket at least once per podcast episode,
Oh,
as we
okay.
are contractually obligated to do. And we hadn't gotten our mention in yet. So, appreciate that.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
I got you. All according to plan, of course. I planned that, definitely.
I think
Perfect.
it's a
Yeah.
sign. I think it's a sign that we should have like a Fruits Basket special, like one time,
Oh,
like because like Maybe if we're like low on Kodocha content, which that'll probably never happen because you know how we are. But
Yeah.
like let's do a fruits basket special. Honestly, I think it'd be a good idea.
Oh my gosh.
How about this? If you're listening to this in the comments, tell us if you want a fruits basket special in the future.
Do it. Do it. Milk
Oh,
the
bless.
content. Everything can be content.
Yes.
Everything is content. Yeah. Nope, that's not incorrect. All right. Well, thank you so much again, RJ, for joining us. To friends who are listening, please make sure you give them a follow on Twitter, on Twitch, and especially on YouTube. And thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Check the links in the description below for all of RJ's socials. So that's all I've got to add.
Thanks for having me again. It was a fun time.
Absolutely.
Such a blast. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to 19 O'Clock News, a Kodocha podcast.
19 O'Clock News is hosted by That Kodocha Girl and Mahou Shoujo M.
We love making new friends. Feel free to join us in the Kodocha Discord under Kodocha_media.
19 O'Clock News is not affiliated with any current or previous rights holders to Kodomo no Omocha by Miho Obana.